This video is sponsored by Squarespace. It is time to start working on my first bigger garden project of the year, which is to start developing the shade border here out in the backyard. One of our fence lines is an ivy hedge and it is completely in the shade because most of this border is either shaded by the ivy hedge or the garage for the entire day. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but it has to happen because the state of this border right now, I really don't like it. I really don't like it. We tried to kind of cheer it up last year by planting this hibiscus. And this is a tree form, like stem hibiscus. It looks fantastic, it blooms, but it blooms pretty late in the season. And for the rest of the season, there is no color here. We do have something growing here, which was here when we moved in. And it is this plant. I keep forgetting the name of it. This thing is tough. It spreads like crazy. It grows on little bulbs or like corms. Every year there is more and more and more of it. And we don't like it. We don't like it at all. I don't like the shape of it. I feel like it looks too tropical or something. I don't know. Plus later in the season they grow this like fruit stalk almost. I guess it's maybe their type of flower. But it's like this stalk completely filled with bright orange berries. Obviously doesn't go with my theme of purple, white and pink. Bright orange is not the vibe. But also they then start decaying and it's disgusting and there's many of them. So yeah, it's time to stop this plant. We don't want it, we don't like it. We started trying to remove this last year. Robert dug up a bunch of the soil, removed all of the bulbs, corms, things. And in the patch where he did that, it didn't return, but it did return pretty much everywhere else. It is now up to me to go at it again, try and remove everything. We also planted grass in that area, in that border, kind of out of the idea that nothing grows there, so we might as well plant grass. But the grass doesn't really work there either. It never really took that great. Again, I think there's just not enough sunlight for the grass to really look good. So it's kind of patchy and thin, and I think it would be much nicer to just plant that whole area up with shade-loving plants that bloom. And many shade-loving plants do actually bloom purple, white and pink, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue to find those. I just need to go out and buy specific plants for that area. So what I think I'm gonna do is start by literally digging up the whole thing. That's something I've never done in this garden. I like to leave the soil undisturbed as much as possible. But in this area, I feel like we need to start with a clean slate, take everything out. I do have one bleeding heart in there that I would like to save. And I do believe it has some foliage coming up, so I should be able to recognize it. Set that one aside, plant that one back in with a few extra around it because I really like that one. And then I think to fill in the gaps, because I want to prevent ivy from growing there because that tends to happen as well. I think I would like to fill in the gaps with some type of blooming ground cover. There is a certain type of ground cover, once again I can't remember the name, that I know does well here because it grows all along the backside, like behind the fence we have that little walkway. Some of our neighbors grow it all along there, so I know that it works in our area and it looks beautiful and it's in bloom for the majority of the season and it's really pretty purple flowers. So I would love to get some of that, plant that to fill out any gaps so that this entire border is full of color and plants that actually contrast the ivy a little bit. Enough chatting. Today is for cleanup. We're probably going to head to the garden center tomorrow, try and find some shade plants. Let's get to it. Last time I was out here, the soil was really wet and soggy, but now it hasn't rained in weeks and the soil is bone dry and rock hard. We have clay soil here, so when it's dry, it's literal rock. So it's very hard to dig right now, and this is gonna take a while. I think I might try, as an experiment, to just blend everything up with my auger. Maybe it works. Maybe it is strong enough to penetrate the soil and I can just kind of pick out all of the corms. If it doesn't work, I'm just gonna have to do it by hand, and it's gonna take a while, but I want to do it right now before these spread even further this year. Fingers crossed that it works. I really hope it does. The auger doesn't work quite as well as I'd hoped. It is also struggling to get through this. It's because of the drill I'm using. It's just not a very strong drill meant for stuff like this. But the combination of the auger and then just brute force is doing a pretty good job. I'm just gonna have to continue forever. I noticed there are loads of little corms on the surface level, but then the deeper you get, the bigger those bulbs or like tubers almost get. Some of them are massive. And they are in there deep, so I just hope I'm able to get in deep enough to get all of them, because especially if I miss the bigger ones, they'll just come back again later in the season. These come up twice. They always come up once in spring and once in fall. I would really hate for that to happen, but it's so hard to get to. So I think I'm just gonna have to hope that I mess it up intensely enough that the plants just give up. But these have been very persistent so far, so I doubt that will happen. Right here is my bleeding heart plant, and there is none of this stuff around it, so I think I'm just gonna leave that for now and create kind of a bit of a patch of bleeding hearts over here. When I buy more of them, I'm just gonna plant them up here as well. I think this is a nice place for them. Also here I have these plants which overwintered in these little tubs. They do look semi-alive still. I need to clean these up. Telema, it looks cute. It blooms with a little like chartreuse, light green flowers, and I was planning on planting some of this here somewhere. Once I have all of the plants I want to plant, I'll see where these fit in, and I will plant them for sure. So I'm going to leave this section alone with the bleeding heart, and then it's time to move on to that giant one. And then there is one more patch of these over there, and my husband tackled a part of that last year when we planted the hibiscus. When we were digging anyway, we tried to dig up as many of those corms as we could, and I feel like he did a pretty good job. Many of them are gone, but I can see some young, like, little looking plants popping up, so I think he must have missed some small ones. Taking a little break to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is the perfect place to go if you're looking to build yourself a website or any type of online presence. Whether it's a website for your business, for your art, to sell products or digital products, Squarespace offers a vast library of website templates that you can use, or you can use their Blueprint AI system to build you a template from scratch that is completely tailored to your wants and needs and leaves you with a perfect, functional and beautiful website in the end, even if you have no experience with building websites whatsoever. They have a very intuitive website building system. It walks you through step by step, and then when you have your template, it's a very simple drag and drop system where you can easily optimize your website for all different platforms, customize absolutely everything with really cool design features, beautiful visuals, and really powerful SEO tools that help get your website discovered once you put it out there. Plus their AI can even help you with your text, write copy for you, check that everything is in the same tone of voice. It's a fantastic system that takes a lot of work out of your hands. So if this sounds good, you can go to squarespace.com, start your free trial, and once you're ready to launch, head to squarespace.com/Loepsie, and you can use code Loepsie to get 10% off of your first purchase of a website or domain. As I was removing the arum, that's what it's called, arum italicum, in case anyone wants it. You don't want it. It is also poisonous. Fantastic. So I'm glad to be rid of it. However, what I was gonna say, I peeked, there's a little gap in the ivy on the bottom, and I peeked underneath and saw a lot of it growing in my neighbor's yard. So I'm afraid that this is not a one-time project. It's gonna keep coming back from there, and I really don't want to make it our elderly neighbor's problem, so I'm just gonna have to try and exhaust it. I recognize these leaves very well, so whenever one pops up, I just need to pull it out straight away. I'm gonna have to treat it as a very persistent weed in our garden, I think, and just keep pulling out the leaves every time they pop up, because they are going to keep coming back. Knowing now that they grow on the other side of the fence, they're going to keep coming underneath. I also found the biggest, thickest clumps of bulbs, tubers, right underneath the fence. So yeah, I think the heart of the colony is right there. So it's still going to help a lot that I did this and removed all of the ones that were in here, but they will return. Anyways, the arum is completely gone. The soil has been tilled. And now I just need to go ahead and remove the grass. Then I'll be all ready for planting. We're going to head to the garden center later today. So I will pick up a bunch of plants. I've made a little list, kind of like a wish list of plants that I would really like to get. Beautiful flowering shade plants that bloom kind of throughout the year. There's one more thing in that border that I would like to show you. Right here I have my beautiful clematis. This is the first clematis that has ever looked good in my garden. For some reason I just can't really make these work, but this one was thriving until a few days ago when I noticed that it started wilting, and I was like, oh, I need to go ahead and water it. So I decided to just water everything, and I was making my way from the house to the back of the garden, just right here. And then when I came to this plant, I realized that it doesn't need water. It is completely torn off from the base. Like the whole thing literally is ripped right off, and it looks like this was a violent ordeal. I don't know what happened here, and honestly the only thing I can think of that may have happened is that a cat came along and kind of just tore the thing through the fence, because it's, you know, sitting right there, so it must, yeah, it could be really easy to just swipe at and break off. I am so sad. It was so near blooming. I have never seen this in bloom, because last year I planted it after the bloom period, and now it's dead. So I am very, very sad about this one. This area right here where the roots of the clematis are, we would really like to place our pump here in summer, our water pump. We use the water pump to collect water from the little canal that's behind our house to water our plants with, so that we're not using drinking water to water the garden. So we have a pump for that in summer. We would like to give it a kind of semi-permanent spot here in the garden where it can just live throughout summer. But in order to do that, it needs to be able to sit out here in the rain as well. I'm just gonna pull out the root ball as well, because that's pointless now. It needs to sit here throughout summer, so it needs to be covered somehow. Look at it, it's so sad. So we need to cover it. So we would really like to build some kind of like little structure over it. So I'm gonna hold off on planting anything new in here until we've done that and I know how much space is left. Also, now that I've removed the clematis, you can see it a little bit better. We have a wisteria here that I also planted last year, and this is the first time I'm seeing leaves on it. Eventually, the plan is to let this grow along the entire top of the fence. There's a little beam just right above our fence that we would like to trail this along, the wisteria. And it's supposed to be a fast-growing plant, so I may just leave it just the wisteria this season, see how much it grows, and then if it doesn't cover all of this, I can always plant another clematis. Fingers crossed, because I really, really loved it here. Haul time. Alrighty, we were very successful at the garden center yesterday. So let me walk you through all of my shade plants. Let me actually grab a knee pad first. There we go, now I can show you comfortably. Okay, I bought a bunch of different shade plants that should hopefully not all bloom at the same time. And I got 3 of everything. So I'm planning to plant them out in groupings of 3 so that they're hopefully a bit more, you know, present, but not too large of a grouping. Starting here with this Brunnera. Absolutely beautiful blue flowers, which are my favorite. I think this is stunning. This blooms in April and May, so that's gonna be gorgeous. Then behind that, I got some hellebores, and this is the White Lady variety, which has a beautiful white flower with some pink veins on the inside. February to April is the blooming time of this. 3 of those. Then behind that obviously is this Telima that I already had. So 3 of those. Then I got these Bleeding Hearts, which are currently in bloom. Mine is not yet, so they will probably bloom a bit later next year. Yeah, May and June is their time usually. So since I already have one planted, I only got 2 of these, and these are going to be much bigger than the one I planted, because I planted that one from a bulb 2 years ago. So it's still a pretty small plant. And then I got a bunch of anemones, because I absolutely love anemones. They get nice and tall, and the flowers are just so beautiful. This variety is called the Robustissima. Robustissima, and it's a beautiful pinky purpley color. These bloom August to October, really late in the season. And then the other variety I got are the Honorine Jaubert, so a white variety, Japanese anemone. So yeah, this is also, oh, this is September. Yeah, September to October, so a bit later than these. And then as my ground cover, I got this Vinca minor, which is periwinkle, common periwinkle. You can already see a little flower here. This is not the best example. And I'm gonna plant that just in between everything. And this blooms, see, February to April, but that's not really my experience actually. In my experience, these bloom just pretty much all season long. So we'll see, we'll see. I feel like I am missing some plants that bloom in summer. So June, July, August, I feel like that's a bit of a empty spot that I still have. So what I think I'm gonna do next, I need to head to the garden center later today to buy some garden soil, because after I emptied out this garden bed, I had to take out a lot of the soil when I remove the grass, because you need to remove the whole sod. So I need to buy some more soil, fill this up, and when I'm there, I'm gonna just take a little look at the shade plants, see if I see anything that might bloom in summer that I can put in here. Oh, and I do actually believe that the hibiscus we have is a summer bloomer, maybe like July, August. I'll have to look that up. Anyways, what I'm gonna do right now is go ahead and trim this ivy hedge, because it is looking a little bit worse for wear. There are a bunch of holes in it and brown spots, and I'm not sure what happened. It didn't look like this before winter, so I think something munched on it. But this is going to be pushing new growth really soon, so I want to go ahead and trim it now while there's not anything underneath it, so that I can easily just rake away all of the debris. The soil is in. I have placed the plants where I pretty much think they should go. I really hope this comes out right. Oh man, I'm kind of nervous about this. I hope I have enough plants. It looks like a lot when I place them like this, but I think once I've planted them all, they might just get lost in here, and I'm a little worried about that. Maybe I should have made bigger clumps, but we'll see. These will grow eventually, hopefully, if they survive. Yeah, I did end up buying one more trio of plants at the other garden center. I found these, Astrantia, I guess. Does this have a common name? Great Masterwort. Sounds fantastic, because these bloom in June and July, and that's the kind of the window I was missing, which is a waste, because June and July is when you make the most use of the garden, at least in our climate. So these bloom then. So I'm going to place these right here in front. So I think I'm going to grab my auger, get all of this in the ground, see what it looks like. I was thinking about that trellis at the end of the shade border and the wisteria growing there, and I realized that my plan is not going to work, because that is not how wisteria grows. If we wanted to grow big enough to grow across the entire top of our fence, then it needs to grow a really thick stem. And thick stems do not grow through trellises, and if we weave it through the trellis now, then in 20 years we're gonna have to cut the trellis out of the wisteria, and it's just gonna be a horrible situation. So that's not gonna work. I have to pull the wisteria out of the trellis and guide it along it so that it can safely form a really thick stem and keep growing there. And I don't know why I didn't realize it sooner, but I'm glad I realized it now. So this morning I headed to the garden center to buy a new clematis. I really want a clematis there. For a little bit I considered buying one that is evergreen, that doesn't drop its leaves in winter, but all of those had really huge tropical looking flowers. And as I mentioned, I like my plants to at least look like they grow in a similar climate to mine, and huge tropical flowers don't really do that. This is the Clematis Montana Rubens, but I had growing here before. I found it at the garden center, so I was reminded of what the flowers look like. They were beautiful, beautiful, soft lilac, like violet colored flowers. But I thought with the periwinkle and the forget-me-nots and all of that I planted here, I feel like I have enough purple in that border. I also have quite a bit of white. We have the hellebore, we have the Japanese anemone. The bleeding hearts are a bit of a brighter pink, so I felt like a soft pink like this could pull the whole thing together. Not that they are all gonna bloom at the same time, they're not, but this balances the garden in general. Many of the large established plants in here are quite bright pink, and I feel like something lighter, more delicate like this would really balance that out and pull them into my color palette a bit more. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have planted bright pink plants like that, but they were already here. Of course I'm gonna leave them, they're beautiful and the only mature things in the garden, so we're definitely keeping those. But yeah, a softer pink like this just balances it out. I tried to find the biggest one in the store. Unfortunately, it's already in bloom. It's not supposed to be in bloom yet, but that's how garden centers work. They always force the blooms and then put them up for sale. So this is all the blooms we're going to get from it probably this year. But next year it should bloom in May and June, which is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and plant it next to the trellis, weave it through. I'm going to leave on this little support so that the base of it doesn't get swiped again, if that is what happened. Yeah, just for safety and extra stability. is finished. For now. It doesn't look like much right now, but then again, no part of the garden is in its prime. It's just not the season quite yet. So I am really excited. I cannot wait to see all of this grow, develop over time. Some of these are really tiny. They kind of look like weeds growing out of the ground. I stuck the labels that came with the plants like behind each of the groupings so that I know what's supposed to grow there, and if it doesn't come back next year, I will know. I will remember what it was. I'm very pleased. I will see as the year progresses, and especially next year, as these plants actually bloom in their natural timeline, how everything works, if there are any gaps anywhere, things I need to purchase more plants for, see how these fill out, that's pretty important too, and see if there are any gaps in the blooming time. And I feel like there will be space here for more plants, but I also want to give them plenty of room to grow. I feel like that's one of the hardest things when it comes to planting, is finding the balance between planting things too close together and kind of crowding them out. So yeah, I feel like this is gonna be fantastic, much better than it was anyway. Thank you so much for joining me in this project of developing my shade border. There is another border here in the backyard that I would very much like to get my hands on, because it's been bothering me and I've never known what to do with it, but I'm kind of, it's shaping up in my head. So I feel like maybe we could be ready for that this year. And of course the front garden is another big one. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you again next week.